Okay, remember they're changing my voice. This is Scriptures That Prove I Am Christ with Some Explanation, Part 2. To keep it simple, okay, other people have forms that don't allow them to obey God. But some people might have the destiny, the gene expression, whatever would cause them to obey God through me or allow them to obey God through me. Right? Some big brute like Baal in popular culture, the big devil, the short devil. That's why David is depicted as a short kid, because the Bible's Bible, and one of his forms is a little Jew, okay, and his other form is a big guy. So it's like good cop, bad cop paradigm. It's good idol, good false idol, bad false idol psychology, right? They're both bad, okay? Keep that in mind, okay? So you kind of Ichabod Crane, Apollo, kind of Prince Harry, Prince William, kind of tall tennis, skinny tennis player guys. That's also a false idol, okay? The only hero is me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, the way is also play on words for W-E-I-G-H. It's not just height and weight, it's the weight of the limbs as well, right? The form, the back, the hips, the shoulders, right? That's why they edited my image and they're fuming and poisoning me and changing my form to confuse you more. Okay, they're overstepping their bounds and they're gonna be punished to the fucking extreme with their offspring. The whole world is. But, you know, they're trying, they believe their job is to try to confuse you, right? By Baal. Baal is the deity of storms, chaos, rape, confusion, right? When people get raped, they slip into a state of mind of confusion. Serapis is a play on words for is rapes, and that's one of the false images of Christ. I mean, it can't get more simple than what I just said. And if you don't acknowledge that it's true by your actions, you're an idiot. Okay? So in 1 Samuel 17, we're going to go through some key scriptures here, go through Revelation 19, some other scriptures, and wrap this up here. I did another video where I explained it more. I'm going to explain it less here. Okay. 1 Samuel 17, verse 4. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me." Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that you know this story already. You don't know the story. Even if you read it and took notes, you still don't know the story. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, again, a champion of what? Named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me." Come down to him. Symbolic of sinking to his level. A champion of what? A champion of brute force, right? He had this huge armor on, this big old spear, big old shield. Okay, part of the parts I'm going to skip over because I'm going to get to the meat of this here. 9. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome, in principle, first and foremost, him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. Then the Philistine said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." Is he talking about cage fighting? No. Weapons, combat. Okay? Martial weapons. He's expecting him to show up with a sword or a spear or an axe or club or whatever. You see what I'm saying? He's not expecting him to show up with a slingshot. That's part of where the story's wrong. It's a story for another day. On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Again, Isaiah 42:13. Okay, the Lord is said to be a champion, a mighty warrior, and he's shouting the war cry with his zeal for for moral precision and moral intensity. His zeal for God, right? His zeal from being in the spirit of God. Okay, so the top martial artist marches out as a champion with the zeal of God. Mighty warrior shouts the war cry. So these guys are shouting their war cry. Okay. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other, right? They're shouting some kind of war cry at each other. David left his things with the keeper of the supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. Now, Israel was not in the spirit of God at this point. Okay? So the Jews collectively outside the divine order are just they're no better than Goliath, except for they're scared of Goliath. Okay? Verse 23. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel, right? The bridegroom, his daughter in marriage to the champion, the top martial artist. That's what David is superimposed on. Day, Vi, D. Okay? The bridegroom, right? Give his daughter in marriage, his royal daughter in marriage, right? The bride and the bridegroom, okay? Should the champion settle? No. Okay, do attractive women fail me when they ask me to settle? Yes. Are they supposed to obey God through me and be and it's be their greatest dream to marry me if they're beautiful? Okay? Yes. Okay? Are they supposed to accept my judgment on the matter and not pester me about it? Yes. I gotta explain this. Psalm 19 also says the bridegroom is the champion, the martial art hero, etc. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills the Philistine and removes the disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? This also means that the disgrace will never be wiped away. In reality, I conquered the rest of the world. After I'm screened out, there's no way to wipe out their disgrace. They went against God. They'll never have a valid redeemer again, not a valid king, not a valid marriage, what have you, right? The voice of the bride and the bridegroom will not be heard in them again. Revelation 18. Okay? And he says, who is he that he should defy the armies of the living God? Okay? So he's saying that these armies are supposed to be the armies of the living God. David, in his mind, believes Israel is the armies of the living God in the story. But without him, they are just cowards that flee from Goliath. Dogs, pussies, punks, weaklings, elves, punks. You understand? If you don't know that, I'm right about that. Put it in the comments, I'll explain in more detail. All right. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Again, it says in Proverbs, the Lord weighs the heart. Okay? And if they're not obeying God, their heart is raging against the Lord. Okay? Their heart is wicked, callous, insensitive, deceitful, right? And the hearts of these people who weren't obeying God, the Jews in the story, were not found to be right with God, not until David led them. Okay, the champion led them. That's why in Revelations it says Satan leads the world astray, because who's leading you is key. If you think you can lead yourself and pray to an imaginary me in the sky, it doesn't work. You have to follow me in the flesh. Okay? He looked David over and saw that he was a little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. Psalm 45. Okay, the most excellent of man, the most handsome of man, another version. Okay? All right. Verse 43, he said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistines cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin. But I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. So those were the weapons that his army used, made specifically for Philistines. Okay? And he said, you come at me with the weapons of the flesh, made by people who worship the flesh. But I come at you in the spirit of God Almighty. Okay, so can you use machine guns and bombs and American drones and any other nation's drones? No, because Revelation 18 makes clear that all the nations are led astray, and the top martial arts hero is a transcendent hero. His kingdom is not of this world, is the way, the truth, and the light, the gate, the life and the gate to get to heaven. I must lead you if you're going to go to heaven. If I don't, you don't go. Okay, if you think you're bad and you think you should say, oh, in that case, we're not going, then you're not going, you bitch-ass motherfucker. Okay, life is short. I don't have that much longer to live on this planet. Okay, fuck you is the answer to that. I'm the top. You're a disgrace. Shut up. Okay, like I got to explain this shit. Anyway, come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword. Okay, I went over that. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Right? Confusion, cut off from God, what have you. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there's a God in Israel. How will they know there's a God in Israel? Write that question down. In 1 Samuel 17, how will the whole world know? How would everyone with sense know that there's a God in Israel? Okay? Because of single combat against Goliath. Not because it's what someone said in the church. Okay, it goes back to 1 Corinthians 4:20, for the kingdom of heaven is not a matter of talk, but of power. And 2 Timothy 1:7, For the Spirit of God does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Okay? Anyway, so it says, all those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with a sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. So when the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. And then only when David takes over as the martial art leader, okay, do we see the Spirit of God come into the Jews. Okay, that part is key. That's why they talk about the spear of destiny and manifest destiny and all this stuff, because they want to pretend to be me, and they use mere psychology, which is fucking tea time little girl bitch shit. Okay, and everyone knows it. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sharim road to Gath and Ekron. That's why they put Sharim, right? Share-im, you know, share, sh-ar, the word share, S-H/A-R-E, sh-ar, right? It's broken into two syllables, okay, or whatever, two words, okay, an anagram, one or more. It's a, just look at what an anagram is. Anyway, where are we here? All right, 58. Whose son are you, young man? Saul asked him. David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. Right? He was from a place that has spiritual significance in the story. I'm from the place with the most spiritual significance in real life, because I'm from the royal family of Martin Luther King's tribe. Martin Luther King's tribe. King. Okay? King, Heart, Hut, Essence, Center, Core. So Martin Luther was some Protestant dickhead who fucked up the world more by pretending he was right with God. Okay, and obviously Catholics are scum too. Okay, but this is the story from Christianity. And King, right? Kiro Obi, Black Belt, King, Heart, Essence, Center, Temple, Core. And a bunch of bootlicking fucking kid plugging scum interrupting. So I'm gonna have to end it there for now.